Hello CraftDee Family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So Crafty. For today's DIY project, we will be creating some farmhouse style decor using all items from the Dollar Tree. Now these pieces all feature a stained look to blend in with a natural wood decor palette. Now you can certainly customize these with paint or stain of your choice. Now as always, all of the projects I create have complete supply lists in the description box, so you can easily use it for reference as you gather your supplies. Now before we start, I have to say hey to all of my subscribers, and if you're a new visitor to my channel today, I hope you consider subscribing as well and stick around to enjoy these crafts and the different tips that I will share throughout the creative process. So now, let's just jump right into the projects. Now this project is a galvanized metal wood planter. Now for this project, we're going to need tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, and this galvanized metal square from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start off with laying out our mat, grabbing our carpenter square, and gathering our blocks. Now the first set of blocks we will be joining together are a total of 11 blocks, and we'll be making 4 sets of these. Now you can use a wood stick hot glue or you can use wood glue, it's all up to you. And what we want to do is start joining these together side by side as shown here. You do want to squeeze them tightly together as you join them to get the best connection, and it's a good idea to flip them along the way just to make sure they don't get wavy or out of sync as you add them together. Now once you have your 11 block set, this is what it looks like, and just repeat it until you have a total of 4. Now the next set of blocks we'll be joining together are 3, and we're going to be joining them end to end as shown here. Again, using that wood stick hot glue and flipping it, and just make sure you wipe away any hot glue that oozes out of the seam. Now once you have this one done, repeat it until you have 4. So now that all our pieces are put together, we can start assembling our blocks. Now we're going to take one of those 3 block sets, and we want to add 2 loose blocks on each end as shown here. And I'm just going to add a dab of that wood stick hot glue on each end as shown here, and then add the other one on the other end. Now this is the shape that you'll end up with, and you want to do this for all of your 3 block sets until you have all 4 of them done. And now we're going to take our 11 block set, and we are going to be adding one of those shapes right on top as shown here. Just add some of the glue of your choice, and you want to bond it closely to the blocks right on top. And now we're just going to repeat this until we have all 4 done in this manner, and these are the 4 sides of our planter box. So now I'm going to take this this galvanized metal square, and you can get this from the Dollar Tree, but if you can't find this, you can make it out of poster board. I'll link a tutorial up in the upper right hand corner of this video to show you how to make it out of poster board from the Dollar Tree. Now what I'm going to do with that square is I am going to cut it into strips long enough and wide enough to cover the insert as shown in that opening of the box side, and I'm just going to mark it with a Sharpie and then cut it out into strips. Now once you have that first strip done, just go ahead and test to make sure that it covers the edges and trim anything down that you need to. You just want to make sure that it's wide enough to cover. And once you have that strip done, just go ahead and trace it on to that square. Now you really don't have to trace each strip like I did. If you divide it into 4 equal strips, that should be enough to cover each opening of each one of the boxes. Now the good thing about this metal is really easy to cut with a sharp pair of scissors too, so you don't need any special saws or materials to cut it. So now that you have your 4 strips, what we're going to do is trim them down to cover the opening. Now we don't want them to cover all the way to the end of the front because we need a raw edge of wood to join them together. So I'm going to trim some down so the blocks will be exposed on each end. And once you do that for all 4 pieces, just set those to the side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the 4 sides of our box and we're going to stain them, and I'm going to be using this Waverly Antique Wax. Now I'm just going to take a cloth and I'm going to work that wax into the wood blocks. Now these wood blocks take the wax so very well, and the end result is always so awesome. So you want to stain the front, the back, and also the inside corners of all of the surface area of these block sets. Now you want to repeat this for all of the block sets, and here they all are nice and stained, and then wipe them down with that paper towel and then just sit them to the side to completely dry. So now that they're dry, we can add our galvanized metal inserts to the inside of our panels, and I'm just going to lay it over the top to make sure it fits, and then add 2 lines of hot glue above and below that opening, and then place that galvanized metal strip right on top. Now you're going to repeat this for all of the openings of all of your sides, and here's what they look like. You can flip them over, take a look, and they all look awesome. And now we can start assembling our box together. So I'm going to take 2 of the pieces, and what I'm going to do is end up laying one flat and then laying one up on the side. So add a generous amount of the glue of your choice and then sit that along the side of the bottom piece. Now you just want to hold it until that glue sets, and then you can flip it around and add the other one to the other side, just noting that all of the sides are going the same direction. Now once 3 sides are done, all we have to do is close it in. So add 2 more lines of that wood stick hot glue or wood glue, and then place that final panel on the opening end. So here is our box all put together, and now all we have to do is work on the bottom. Now I originally had a different plan for the bottom, but I changed my mind at the last minute and decided to go with these jumbo craft sticks from Lowe's that I got for 98 cents. So if you decide to use the craft sticks, you can go ahead and stain them with that Waverly Antique Wax ahead of time instead of at the end like I'm going to do, but it's all up to you. So I'm just going to add those craft sticks all along the bottom as shown here. Now once you do add them, you will have overlapping ends on each side. So just take your utility knife, and then you can cut off all of those overlapping ends with just a few passes of a utility knife or an X-Acto knife. And once that's done, now all you have to do is use your wax to stain the inside and outside of your box. Now you can do this with a cloth or a paintbrush to get into all of those corners. You just want to apply an even layer, and then make sure you wipe it clean with a paper towel for the inside and outside. And here is what your box looks like. Now once it's dry, you are ready to decorate. And now that the wax has dried, you can add any kind of faux or pre-potted plant arrangement that you like. Now I just added some eucalyptus bundles that I picked up from my Walmart to add, and I really love the panel that shows the metal through. I mean, it's really giving me rustic farmhouse vibes. Now this is not just for plant displays. I mean, you can use it to hold items on a vanity or even decorative accessories as a centerpiece on a coffee table. Now you all have to let me know in the comments, how would you use this piece in your home? Now this project is a hanging home sign decor piece. Now we're going to start off with this home shadow box from the Dollar Tree and this wood die cut decor piece from the Dollar Tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our die cut wood piece, our Halloween design, and we are going to be cutting out that middle pot in the middle. We're not going to be using that. We're only going to be using the frame. And to cut it out with a few passes of a utility knife or an X-Acto knife, that center part should separate pretty easily from the frame. Now once that's done, you can go ahead and clean up any jagged edges with a piece of sandpaper. Now once you've done that, go ahead and take your home sign, and you want to separate the back from the main picture. And I found this really easy to do. I just took my Dollar Tree spackle knife, and I'm just going to glide it along that seam, and it popped right on out. Now I wanted to cover up that pumpkin design with some buffalo check. Now you can use some craft paper. I'm just printed out a buffalo check design that I actually made myself. So I'm going to be using this to cover up my sign. Now it is a little short, so I'll have to piece the end together, but to print it out myself, I think that it turned out pretty good. So I'm just going to trim it down to size to fit on the top of the sign, on the one side, and then trim off that edge just a little bit. Now to adhere this, I am going to be using a glue stick. So I'm just going to go around the edges of the sign first and then fill in the middle with a generous amount of that glue. And then lay that buffalo check paper right on top. Now for the other end, and like I said, I'm just taking that excess piece and I'm just matching up the pattern and then cutting a couple pieces to cover up that end part. Now you just add more of that glue right on there, that glue stick, and then we're just going to add our pieces on. They can be a little larger than the board because we're going to go in and trim it off at the end. So now that everything is all matched up and glued in place, we can take our utility knife and trim everything down to the right size. So now we're going to set that piece to the side and we're going to start working on our wood pieces. So we're going to be staining these as well, and we're going to start off with this Waverly Antique Wax. So I'm going to start with the frame, and I just want to go around the entire outside of the frame, just making sure I get into all those cracks and crevices all the way around until we have an even layer applied. Now once that's done, we're going to work on the home sign, and I'm going to start around the outside of the home sign, and then I'm going to do the front surface of the home sign, not the home letters, just the edges of the frame as shown here. Now I did want my home to kind of pop a little bit, so I'm taking a white paint marker that I picked up from Amazon. I'll link it in the description box below, but the Dollar Tree does have paint markers as well. I'm just going to go around the outline of the whole home word, and you can see how it really stands out now. Now I will be applying this back on top of my buffalo check backing, so I'm just going to add a generous amount of that hot glue around the actual inside of the home sign, and then I want to place that buffalo check right on top, just making sure you match those edges up. And here's my completed home sign for this project. So now we're going to work on that frame. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of foam board, and I'm going to lay my frame right on top, take a pencil, and I'm going to trace the inside oval marking of our frame. So I'm just going to end up cutting this out. Now you do want to make sure you leave about 1/4 of an inch around your oval, so don't cut exactly on the line, just leave that little seam around there so it'll bond to the frame, and then you can just go ahead and test it out with the frame to make sure none of that foam board is showing through the frame. And once that's done, I'm going to take another piece of my printed buffalo check paper here, and I'm just going to put that oval right on top and trace that shape right on top. Now once I do that, I am just going to cut that out right on the line that I traced. So now we're going to add that to our foam square, and then I'm just going to start it adding my glue stick on there, and then putting that printout buffalo check sheet right on top. Now I'm just doing a check here to make sure. You see some of the white edges show just a little bit, but we're going to fix that up in the end. But for now, we're just going to add that wood stick hot glue around the frame and sit that frame right on top of that foam board backing. And then add a little bit of wood glue around the edges just for a little added security. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fine tipped Sharpie, and I'm just going to do a line all the way around the inside of the frame. Now this kind of gives it a finished look and covers up all of those white edges. I didn't want to put rope or anything. I think this black line does it justice, and it worked perfect. Now for the center of this, I wanted to do another one of those houses. Now I've done one of these before in a tutorial, and I'll link that up in the upper right hand corner of this video as well. And I'm going to do it the same way. So I thought, why not just take that project and repurpose it? So what I'm going to do is remove it from that project and also those little bush gatherings, and I'm just going to add it to this project. So I felt like there's really no reason to redo the whole thing again when I have a tutorial already for you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wood stick hot glue and go around that house again, and I am going to glue it right in the center of my little circle there. And then once that's in place, I'm going to take those little bushes that I made as well. Those are included in that tutorial. And I'm just going to place one on each side of the house. And here is my little house with the bushes in the little frame. Now on the back of this one and also the home sign, I'm going to put hangers, and I'm just going to use a jute twine that is double knotted on each end to apply to the back. I'm just going to hot glue to the back of each one of the frames, making sure that each knot is embedded into that hot glue. Now it's very important that you make sure that these are nice and centered on the back of each frame as well, so you can hang them individually. Now I also wanted a hanging chain between the two for a different look. So I'm taking some of this plant hanger chain that I had left over from spring, and I also actually picked some up a couple weeks ago, so it's still in the stores. And I thought this would add a unique look to kind of hang the pieces together with a chain in between. And I'm using about 8 to 10 links of this chain. Now to hook these, I am using these picture hanger hooks. You can get them from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to apply 2 of those picture hanger hooks the right way with the hook at the bottom, at the back of the home sign at the bottom. You just want to make sure they're equally distanced apart and they're nice and centered. And I'm just applying those with that wood stick hot glue at the back bottom of that home sign. Now for the house sign, what we're going to do on that one is we are going to actually add those hooks as well. Now when we add them to the house sign, we want to put them upside down so the hooks are at the top. This way we can link the chain between the two and go ahead and glue those into place and make sure they're centered as well. So now all we have to do is take our chain, hook it at the top at the home sign and then at the bottom of the house sign, and both pieces are linked together. And now when you flip it over and they're linked, you can hang them on display as shown here. So here is my completed home sign, and I absolutely love how this turned out. Now these Dollar Tree items were so easy to customize, and the stain really makes them look higher end. And I love the buffalo check in these pieces. It really gives me that cozy farmhouse vibe. Now you can choose to display these separately too, since you added jute between both pieces and on the back and the centers. Now I hope that you all give this fun and easy project a try. Now this project is a set of wood wall sconce shelves. Now we're going to need 3 of these wall plaques from the Dollar Tree to do this project. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take 3. Now I have 2 the same and 1 different. You can have them all the same if you like, but the 1 different will work for this project, just so you'll see how it all comes together. So remove the stickers from one of the planks and sand it down. Now what we're going to do is we are going to mark the very center of one of those planks. So I'm going to cut it down the center on the shortest side as shown here, and this will form 2 shelves for our sconces. So we're going to take 2 of the same backings and we're going to put 1 of those shelves on each one of the front of the pieces. Now I do want to have them flipped over as shown here, where the wider side is facing up, so you'll have more shelf room. Now to place these, I'm placing them about 1 inch or 1.5 inches up from the bottom, and then we're going to align the bottom of each one of those shelves with that line we just made. Now I'm going to bond these with wood stick hot glue, or you can use some Gorilla Glue. It doesn't matter which one you use because we will be screwing these in for extra security. Just apply a generous amount and place it securely on top of each one of those planks. Now once those planks are secure, what we're going to do is flip them over, take our ruler, and we're going to mark a line down the center of where that plank sits on the front, so we'll know where to place our screws. So now I'm going to take my drill and I am going to drill 2 holes in the back. Now when I drill these, I'm using a 32nd inch drill bit for this process. Now I'm going to do this for both pieces, and once you have those pilot holes drilled, we're going to grab our screws, and the screws that I'll be using are some 1 1/4 inch number 6 wood screws. Now I'm just going to hand thread these in and then go ahead and screw all of those screws into place. So now all of your shelves will be super secure. So now remove the stickers from the back of each one of those because we are preparing to stain those. And again, we will be using our Waverly Antique Wax to keep with the color theme here. So I'm going to go ahead and start applying it to the entire sconce. Now I'm going to be applying this on the front, the sides, underneath, and the back of these, just to make sure we have continuity throughout the entire piece. Now as you apply it, just go ahead and wipe it off with a paper towel and just continue adding it, making sure you cover all the surface area of each one of these sconces. Now here's one completely covered, and you just want to repeat this for your second one. Now here are both of my sconces all nice and covered, and once they are dry, we can start working on the hangers for these. Now again, I'm going to grab some of that leftover plant chain, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate 2 pieces about 12 lengths long. Now if you don't have plant chain, you definitely can use rope or jute twine or any combination that you like. I just had plant chain on hand and I thought it looked nice, so I'm going to go ahead and use that for my project. So once I get my 12 link chain, I'm going to actually apply this to the back of each one of my sconces. Now I'm going to take one and I'm going to lay it flat against the back of the sconce on each side. And how to apply these, I'm just going to start with that wood glue or wood stick hot glue and place the end of the chain right in it. Now this is just to hold it in place before I add my security with my staples at the very end. Now you're going to glue it to the other piece as well until it looks like it's shown here, and then I'm going to take my staple gun. I'm using 3/8 inch 10mm staples. These are longer staples, and I'm going to put 4 staples in each one of those loops as shown here. So this thing is not going anywhere. It is super secure, and I'm going to do this at every location of the chain on the back, and here they are, all super secure in place. So once you do that, your hangers are basically done. Now just add whatever item you would like to display on them and hang them up. Now I chose to use a couple of decorative white mason jars with bows, and they fit perfectly on these little shelves. Now I think these turned out so amazing, and the color is so rich on these wood plaques. Now you can also add some battery candles, trinkets, or whatever you like to these. Just be sure to add some Dollar Tree Velcro dots to make sure your item on your shelf stays put. Now it's always hard for me to pick a favorite, but let me know in the comments which one of these DIYs today was your favorite. Listen, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So Crafty EE on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. If you like videos like these and don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking the subscribe button below, or just click on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen, and make sure you hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.